Welcome back to Dash Explore. I'm Sarah and we just got back from a 7-day trip to Ireland with our 2 kids ages 3 and 6, and honestly, Ireland might be one of the most family-friendly places that we have visited so far. But there are a few things you need to know before you go, so today I'm going to be sharing our top tips for traveling to Ireland with your kids. So tip number 1 is all about trains. The train system in Ireland is super clean and comfortable, but it is not quite as extensive as the rest of Europe. So pro tip for you, decide where you want to go, what is most important to you on your trip, and if it's just going from Dublin to Galway and maybe taking some day trips out from those places, then the train system is perfect for you. But if you're trying to travel deeper into the countryside, then you might need to look into an alternative option. So now we will jump into tip number 2, and that is the driving dilemma. If you have decided that the train system is not the right method of transportation for you, then you might be thinking about renting a car. Some important things for you to note about driving in Ireland is that they do drive on the opposite side of the road, and there are some very narrow and very windy roads, so if that's something that makes you uncomfortable, you might need to just stick to the routes that are available by train. And don't forget, if you have a kid who gets motion sickness, it might not be the best idea to be spending a lot of time on those windy roads. But if you do decide to rent a car, it is important to note that parking in the major cities, especially Dublin and Galway, it might be kind of tricky for you. So unless your hotel or apartment comes with some kind of parking spot, maybe save the rental car for when you're moving from place to place and not having it while you're in the city. And one last note on cars before we move on to our next tip is if you decide not to rent a car and you're going to go to places by taxi, it can be very easy to find taxis within the city. When we were in Dublin, Delaney and I counted over 50 of them just in one short walking trip. So the taxis are everywhere, but if you travel too far outside of the city, it gets rural really fast. And if you're trying to find a taxi to come back into the city, it might be a little bit more difficult. So make sure you've planned all that stuff out ahead of time before leaving on your trip. Moving into tip number 2, and that is mastering the Leap card for Ireland. And if you don't know what the Leap card is, it is your ticket to traveling around Ireland by bus. Most of the major cities have a bus system for you to use, which can be incredibly convenient, but you will need to have a Leap card to get on and off those buses. We purchased ours at a convenience store upon arrival and loaded about 10 euros on it, and that was enough for both Andrew and I together to ride about 4 trips around the city. But you can also order these on their website ahead of time, which I've linked down in the description below, and it takes about 1 to 2 weeks to arrive to your home, so make sure you factor that into your planning. Also, I assume you're watching this video because you're planning to take your kids to Ireland, and if your kids are 5 and under, they are free to travel on the buses. They don't need any extra card or anything specific, but if you are traveling with a kid age 5 to 8, they have a child Leap card that is also free of charge, but you do need to have the physical card and you need to order that online ahead of time. So make sure you look into all of that and get all of that squared away so that you don't run into any issues once you arrive on your trip. Okay, now we are moving into tip number 4, and this is one final tip about transportation, and that is do not be afraid of bus tours. If you've decided that driving makes you nervous and you're just sticking to the cities that are easy to get to by train, bus tours are an excellent solution to get outside of the city and see other parts of the country. This was our first time ever doing any kind of group bus tour, and we loved it. Our bus tour allowed us to go from Galway to the Cliffs of Moher, and we got to see all kinds of smaller Irish villages that we wouldn't have gotten to see otherwise. It took the stress off of our shoulders of not having to drive around or get a taxi or any of that kind of stuff. Somebody else was driving us, somebody else was planning the logistics, and we just had to show up and enjoy the day. So bus tours are a great way to maximize your time without having to move locations from day to day. Okay, I think we have covered everything that we need to when it comes to transportation, so we are moving into tip number 5, and that is pub culture and little kids. So if you're anything like me, you definitely associate Ireland with pubs. But is it okay to bring your little kids into a pub when visiting Ireland? And for us, the answer was yes. Now, we did not go into these pubs at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night because obviously that is going to be the most vibrant and wild time to be in a pub. But we would go and have an early dinner anytime between 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock, 2 o'clock the day we got there because of jet lag, and we still got to experience the pub culture. There was live music when we went to Temple Bar, we had pub food, fish and chips, Guinness stew, Andrew and I had Guinnesses, and we got to see what these small town pubs were like without having to experience any of the craziness and making sure that everything going on was appropriate for our children. So our advice, take your kids to the pubs, make sure you don't go super late, but enjoy that classic part of Ireland with the entire family. And so now we are rolling into tip number 6, and like I've already mentioned, is that Ireland is one of the most family-friendly places that we have visited so far. I was blown away by the sheer number of activities that we thought might be interesting to our kids, and that was not even scratching the surface of stuff that they aren't even interested in. So if you are thinking about taking your kids to Ireland, we would highly recommend it. Just to name a few between the things that we actually did and the things that we saw during our research is they have fairy gardens, they have alpaca farms and sheep farms and mining tours and the Leprechaun Museum, Viking Museum, boat tours. I mean, I could go on and on. There were so many fun things to do, and I'm so desperate to get back to Ireland because I know that we only scratched the surface of what Ireland has to offer. So take some time to talk to your kids, figure out what they're interested in, what things they might like to see, and I'm certain that you'll find something for everybody in your family to enjoy. Okay, now my next tip for traveling to Ireland with your kids is probably one of the most important tips that I'm going to share today, and that is that you should be prepared for every kind of weather every time you leave the house. We got so lucky on our trip to Ireland and had beautiful weather 99% of the time. But there is that other 1% of the time where things got a little crazy, and it is wild because it can go from absolutely gorgeous and sunny one second to completely pouring down rain the next. But if you are looking for a silver lining in this, the best part of this kind of weather is that you have an excellent chance of spotting a rainbow. So if you are going out and about exploring for the day, definitely make sure that everybody has some kind of packable raincoat that they can wear and a pair of waterproof shoes, because you just really never know what the weather's going to be. All right, and my final tip for traveling to Ireland with your kids is that if you are going to be spending any time at all in Dublin, you should absolutely do the Guinness Storehouse. Now, this is something that we were very, very hesitant to book because it's a brewery tour, and a brewery in general. Is this something that we take our kids to? And we waited and booked this experience 2 days before we left. And honestly, we are so glad that we did. It is a 7-story interactive museum. There are games for kids to play. There's things that they can touch and see. And not only are you learning about the history of beer, but Guinness is such a staple in the history and the culture of Ireland and the Guinness family themselves that learning all of that really played into our understanding of Ireland as a whole, and it was just so much fun for the whole family to experience. I mentioned in my Dublin Redash video that the website says it takes about 2 hours to get through the museum, but we were there for close to 4 hours between reading all of the things, looking at the exhibits, going to the Guinness Academy to learn how to pour the perfect pint of Guinness, and enjoying our free drinks at the rooftop bar. We all had so much fun, and there was something here for everybody. The girls particularly enjoyed their free Sprite at the end of the tour. So although a brewery tour doesn't exactly sound like something that's super kid-friendly, this one definitely is, and I highly recommend it if you are at all interested in the history of Guinness or the Guinness family's impact on Ireland. Oh, and before we go, I have one last bonus tip for you to keep in mind, and that is that Ireland has world-class hospitality. Every single person that we interacted with, from the small farms to the fairy gardens to the taxi drivers to the people in the pubs, everybody was so incredibly kind and went out of their way to make sure that us and our kids felt welcome in their country. Between helping us find a taxi when we were kind of stuck in the middle of rural Ireland, to helping our poor daughter when she fell off her chair at a restaurant and cut her chin open, they were right there to make sure that we were okay, to take care of us. And I had heard it before we went, but I didn't truly believe it until we were there. The people in Ireland are truly some of the friendliest people that you will meet. So you are in good hands going to this country, and I hope that you have the most incredible time with your family making all of those memories together. So that wraps it up for my tips for traveling to Ireland with your kids. I hope that you have so much fun on your trip and that you are enjoying the whole planning process. There are so many beautiful places in Ireland, especially when you get outside those major cities, and I know that there is so much to see and explore that we will most certainly be back, hopefully in the not too distant future. So thank you so much for watching today. If you found this video helpful in planning your own Ireland trip, we would really, really appreciate it if you could give this video a like. And if you want to check out more of our Ireland videos, make sure you check out our Ireland playlist, which is linked down in the description below, as well as up here. And if you want to follow along for more of our family travel tips, family travel inspiration, or to see where we end up going next, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you can get notified when we post new videos. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook at @Explorer. So again, thank you so much for watching today, and we will catch you in the next one.